Story Africa TV, Africa's voice in every frame.
She was a billionaire's daughter trapped in a golden cage. He was a street-hardened hustler fighting for survival. Their worlds were never meant to collide, but in the chaotic heart of Lagos, fate had other plans. This is the story of a love that defied everything. Tenny Adebambo, the only daughter of a powerful industrialist, had a life most people dream of, but for her, it was a prison. One night, craving a taste of freedom, she slipped out of her family's mansion. No security, no driver, just her and the open road. That decision changed her life forever. In the dizzying traffic of CMS, she swerved to avoid a reckless bus and clipped a motorbike. The rider crashed, and standing over him was a man who looked like trouble itself: cornrows, tattoos, and eyes that could cut through steel. His name was Kola, but on the streets, they called him Blade. He stormed towards her, fury in his eyes. "Are you blind?" he yelled. Tenny, who had never been spoken to that way, froze in terror. She whispered a sincere apology, and his anger faltered. He saw not arrogance, but genuine fear. An unexpected connection sparked between them. He wasn't just a thug. She wasn't just a rich girl. They were two lonely souls who found a flicker of understanding in each other's eyes. Against all logic, he offered to escort her home safely. They exchanged numbers, and that night, sleep was a stranger to them both. They began to meet in secret. Tenny would sneak away to Ajangunal, Blade's world. He showed her the real Lagos, a place of struggle, laughter, and raw, unfiltered life. For the first time, Tenny felt truly alive. He told her about his dreams, his fight to protect his family, and the scars life had given him. She saw the passion beneath his tough exterior. He saw the kindness in her heart. One evening, under a broken street lamp, surrounded by the city's unending noise, he told her he wasn't good enough for her. "That's not your decision to make," she whispered, and then she kissed him. It was a kiss that sealed their fate. But secrets in Lagos have a short lifespan. Tenny's father, the formidable chief Adebambo, found out. He was furious. A thug from the gutter, disgracing his family? He ordered Tenny to end it, or he would destroy Blade. For the first time, Tenny defied him, screaming, "You don't own my heart." True to his word, her father sent his men. They found Blade and beat him mercilessly, a brutal warning to stay away. When Tenny saw his bruised face, her heart shattered. This was her fault. But Blade, holding her hand, simply said, "I'm not leaving you." Their love, now seasoned with danger, only grew stronger. To sever their bond for good, Chief Adebambo arranged a marriage for Tenny, announcing it to the world without her consent. Heartbroken, Tenny's world crumbled further when Blade suddenly disappeared. No calls, no texts. He was gone. She thought he had abandoned her, but Blade was fighting a different kind of battle. He started working at a mechanic shop, determined to build a life worthy of her, a life her father couldn't crush. Weeks before the wedding, a message arrived. "Meet me where we first kissed." She raced to their spot. He was there, cleaner, stronger, his eyes filled with a new fire. "I left to become a man who can stand beside you," he said. She ran into his arms. Their love reignited. On the day of the wedding, as the music played and the guests waited, the bride was nowhere to be found. Tenny had vanished. While her family panicked, she was on the back of a motorbike, her wedding veil flying in the wind, racing towards Ajangunal. She burst into the small mechanic shop where Blade was waiting. "I choose you," she said, breathless. His voice cracked. "Are you sure? My world is rough." She smiled, tears in her eyes. "I'm not afraid anymore." And she kissed him. A kiss that rejected a world of wealth and control. A kiss that chose freedom, struggle, and a love that was real. It was a kiss of a thug, and it was the beginning of their true story. Thanks for watching. If you loved this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales of impossible love.
Thank you for watching Story Africa TV. Follow and subscribe. Story Africa TV, Africa's voice in every frame.
Yasin Benrani stepped out of Al Harak prison with just a single plastic bag, a fresh scar along his jaw, and a heart burning with one singular purpose: payback. 7 years behind bars for a crime he didn't commit had carved a new version of him, one colder, sharper, and as patient as a viper waiting to strike. Algiers had changed while he was locked away. The white buildings of the Casbah still clung to the hills, but the streets now buzzed with new cars, new shops, and new rules. What hadn't changed were the faces of the men who betrayed him, men who were now richer, more powerful, and far more dangerous. They were once his closest allies. Yasin walked through his old neighborhood, Bab el-Oud, where kids played football on dusty pavements and old men smoked outside cafes overlooking the Mediterranean. As soon as they saw him, whispers spread like wildfire. Yasin, they released him. After what happened Yester, he ignored the murmurs and went straight to his mother's small apartment. She greeted him with tears, and the warmth of her embrace softened him, but only for a moment. He promised her he would rebuild his life, but rebuilding was never the plan. 7 years ago, Yasin worked security for a high-ranking business tycoon, Karim Jeffel. Karim and his partners Munir, a corrupt police officer, and Fuad, a smooth-talking politician, framed Yasin for gun trafficking. They used him to cover their own massive smuggling empire. The evidence was planted. The witnesses were bribed. The verdict was delivered in minutes. And while Yasin rotted away in a cell, they flourished. On his second night home, a woman appeared in the shadows of his building. It was Samia, Munir's estranged sister and a childhood friend of Yasin. "You can't go after them," she warned him. "They'll kill you before sunset." He looked her dead in the eye. "They already killed the man I used to be." With a sigh, she handed him a flash drive. "This contains everything you need. Every transaction. Every shipment. Every lie. They used me as their secretary. I've been saving this for years. For the day you came back." For the first time in 7 years, Yasin felt a lethal mix of hope and rage. He began his takedown with Fuad the politician. Fuad loved publicity. He craved it. Days before his re-election rally, the media received leaked footage showing his meetings with smugglers, cash payments, and a secret warehouse near the port. The scandal exploded across Algiers. Fuad was arrested on live television, shouting, "This is fabricated. I'm innocent." Those were the exact same words Yasin had screamed 7 years ago. Justice felt delicious. Next was Officer Munir, the man who once called Yasin his brother. Yasin confronted him in an old abandoned textile factory where they had shared childhood memories. Munir arrived, gun raised, his hands trembling. "It wasn't personal," Munir stammered. "Karim paid me. I had no choice." Yasin stepped forward, calm and collected. "You pointed evidence at me. You lied in court. You chose. What happened inside that building stayed between them." But when dawn came, Munir was found tied to the gates of the police headquarters, alive but disgraced, with documents exposing years of corruption strapped to his chest. The final confrontation was with Karim Jeffel. He lived in a luxurious villa overlooking the Bay of Algiers, the city lights glittering beneath him like jewels stolen from God himself. Yasin entered the home silently. Years in prison had sharpened his instincts. He found Karim on the terrace, sipping mint tea like a king surveying his kingdom. "I knew you'd come," Karim said calmly, not even turning around. "Men like you can't let go. You took my life," Yasin growled. Karim chuckled. "No, you gave it to me when you put loyalty above intelligence." A violent, desperate fight erupted. Karim was strong, but Yasin had prison behind him, fueled by rage, discipline, and the scars that served as constant reminders. When Karim finally fell to his knees, Yasin didn't kill him. Instead, he handed him the same flash drive. "Everything on this will destroy you. The courtrooms, the media, the whole country." Karim snarled, "You're too weak to kill me." "No," Yasin whispered. "I'm too smart to die for you." Minutes later, authorities stormed the villa. Samia had tipped them off. Karim was dragged out in handcuffs as Yasin walked away into the early morning light. He returned to Bab el-Oud. Life was quieter now. The sea breeze felt different, not forgiving, but cleansing. He knew revenge didn't fix everything, but at least the scales were balanced. Samia visited him often, bringing food, laughter, and something he thought he'd never feel again: peace. Yasin wasn't the man he used to be, but he was finally free.
Thank you for watching Story Africa TV. follow and subscribe. Story Africa TV, Africa's voice in every frame.
In Lagos, survival isn't a given. For the young, the restless, and the forgotten, it's a daily war. In the heart of a jiggle, five friends see the quiet strategist. DJ the hustler with a joke for every problem. Imade the sharpest mind and the only woman in the group, Kola the streetwise survivor. And Onom the tech-savvy dreamer were losing that war. They'd done everything right. They'd gone to school, hunted for jobs, and chased every so-called opportunity. But all Lagos gave them were long lines, empty promises, and the stinging phrase. Check back next week, one sweltering afternoon. With the power out and their last pot of gari nearly empty, Onom pitched a crazy idea. A very crazy idea. He knew of a high-end estate in Lekki where the rich often forgot to update old building access codes. During his service year, he'd repaired a CCTV system there. And a careless contractor left him with a partial access file. The plan was simple, but dangerous. They would pose as a cleaning crew, get inside, and collect abandoned scrap metal, old tiles, and faulty AC parts from houses under renovation. It wasn't stealing, they told themselves. It was reclaiming waste. It was surviving Lagos. At 6 in the morning, they set out, dressed in reflective jackets, armed with mops and buckets. They drove a rickety bus borrowed from BJ's uncle. The traffic was light, but the fear was heavy. At the estate gate, Say calmly told the guards they were from City Spark Cleaning Services. The guards were suspicious. That's when a maid stepped out, her confidence unwavering, and handed them a perfectly forged work order. Her disarming smile sealed the deal. They were in. Inside, it was a blur of motion. Kola scouted for scraps. Onom temporarily disabled small cameras. BJ cracked nervous jokes. And Say coordinated everything. They filled the bus with copper wires, aluminum frames, and old electronics, a small fortune waiting at the mile to scrap yards. For the first time in months, they felt a flicker of hope. And that's when trouble arrived. A real cleaning crew showed up, in real uniforms, with a real contract. The guard who'd let them in panicked and called the estate supervisor. A siren wailed in the distance. Say's voice was a sharp whisper, time to move. They scrambled into the bus, Onom barely making it in as Kola slammed the door shut. BJ floored the accelerator, the old engine screaming in protest. The estate patrol vehicle was right behind them, chasing them down the pristine road. BJ swerved, horn blaring, fear choking the air. At the gate, the same guard stood, frozen in shock. A maid leaned out the window, her face a mask of panic, tears streaming down her cheeks as she screamed, "Emergency." Someone fainted. The confusion bought them 3 seconds. That was all they needed. They burst through the gate and vanished into the chaos of Lekki traffic. That day, they sold the scrap and made more money than they had in the last 4 months combined. That night, they ate real food. They laughed. They dreamed again. But they all knew it was a one-time gamble. The estate would be on high alert, security tightened, cameras upgraded. Say looked at his friends, his face serious. "We can't keep gambling with our lives," he said. "Lagos taught us how to survive, but if we don't build something real, we'll just be chasing quick wins until our luck runs out." And so, they made a pact. They pooled the money and started a small mobile phone repair and gadget business. They used Onom's tech skills, Made's business sense, and Say's strategic mind. It was small. It was humble. But it was theirs. For the first time in Lagos, survival didn't feel like a lottery. It felt like a beginning. This story is a testament to the hustle and heart of Lagos. If you've ever had to fight for your dream, let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.
Thank you for watching Story Africa TV. Follow and subscribe. Story Africa TV, Africa's voice in every frame.
In the sprawling, chaotic hearts of Lagos, Accra, and Nairobi cities pulsating with noise, neon, endless traffic, and a relentless hustle, survival is a daily sport. And in this arena, only the bold stay afloat. This is the story of three strangers, separated by borders but united by a single, crushing reality. In Lagos, Tund, a young man with shoulders broad from factory work, had just been laid off. His world shrank overnight. In Accra, Kojo, with his quick smile and even quicker wit, found himself staring at an eviction notice, the key to his tiny single room no longer his. And in Nairobi, Aching, a brilliant coder with a mind like a circuit board but no connections to plug into, was drowning in a sea of unanswered job applications. 3 cities. 3 individuals. One shared condition: they were young, ambitious, and their dreams were suffocating in their empty pockets. Destiny, or maybe just the algorithm, brought them together in a small online group for African freelancers surviving the economy. It was a digital back alley, mostly filled with frustrated rants and the occasional scam. But amidst the noise, Tund, Kojo, and Aching found a common ground: a deep, burning desire to make it, legitimately, in a system that seemed designed to shut them out. One night, the digital silence was broken. Tund typed a message heavy with desperation: "If I no find money this week, I'm finished." Almost immediately, a reply from Accra appeared: "Kojo. Same here, bro. My landlord won't kill me." And then, from Nairobi, Aching's words lit up the screen, simple but sparking with potential. "Guys, what if we try something different?" That question would change everything. Aching had been observing a peculiar trend bubbling up on social media. Unofficial, amateur lost and found detectives. People were using the power of the crowd to track down stolen phones, missing packages, even runaway pets. But it was disorganized, chaotic. No one had channeled that energy into a real service. "What if," she proposed, "we create a people-powered tracking network? A network of volunteers, Okada riders, taxi drivers, street vendors, people who are everywhere, all the time. We could help find anything that's lost, for a small fee." From Lagos, Tund's laughter was almost audible through the text. "You want create Africa FBI, ABAC." But Kojo, ever the strategist, saw the genius in the madness. "Wait," he typed, "it could work. People they lose phone every day for trotro. Even politicians go needy when their briefcase goes missing." The idea was audacious. It was borderline impossible. It was definitely risky. But when you have nothing to lose. The hustle began immediately. From her small room in Nairobi, surrounded by a tangle of wires and fueled by instant noodles, Aching hammered out a basic version of the platform. It was rough, but functional: a simple system with maps, messaging, and an alert function for volunteers. Meanwhile, Tund hit the streets of Lagos. With his natural charisma, he walked through Lagos Island, weaving through the chaos, convincing Okada riders, danfo conductors, and street hawkers to sign up as community trackers. He spoke their language, the language of the hustle, and they understood. In Accra, the smooth-talking Kojo put his skills to work. He pitched the idea to market women sorting through tomatoes, to taxi drivers waiting for fares, and even to neighborhood watch groups. He made them see the vision, a community helping itself, with a little something extra for their trouble. Within 2 weeks, they had an army. 400 volunteers across 3 major cities, all connected by a simple app and a shared goal. They called it Find Africa. The fee was designed for the people, just 3,000 naira, 50 Ghana cedis, or 500 Kenyan shillings per search. It was cheap enough for anyone to afford, and effective enough that word of mouth began to travel faster than a Lagos danfo. Then came the message that would test their new venture. It was a DM to Tund, from a Lagos businessman, his words trembling with fear. "My daughter is missing. Bring her back, and you'll get 500,000 naira." Tund's heart pounded in his chest. This was different. They were hustlers, not private investigators. This was a human life. His first instinct was to say no, to run. But the weight of his own debts, the gnawing hunger, felt heavier than his fear. He messaged Aching and Kojo. "Guys, we're taking the case." Aching's fingers flew across her keyboard, pushing an emergency alert to every volunteer on their Lagos network. The digital signal spread like wildfire. Suddenly, the eyes and ears of the city were activated. Okada riders peered into alleyways. Food vendors watched the faces in the crowds. Even LASMA officers, usually focused on traffic, kept a lookout. The city itself had become a search party. 6 hours later, a message blinked on Tun's phone. It was from a street hawker in Oyulegba. "I see one girl way resemble AM for bus stop." Tun and two volunteers raced to the location. They found her huddled on a bench, scared, hungry, and shaking. She hadn't been kidnapped. She'd run away after a fight with her father, a young girl lost and overwhelmed in the vastness of the city. They brought her home. The reunion was a flood of tears from the father, from the daughter, and later, alone in his room after the 500,000 naira was in his account, from Tund. He immediately sent a cut to Kojo and Aching. That night, for the first time in a very long time, all three of them ate a real, celebratory meal. But success, as they soon discovered, breeds its own kind of trouble. The authorities began to notice. In all three cities, police officers started asking questions. Some accused them of impersonating law enforcement. Others saw an opportunity and demanded bribes, a cut of the action. And it wasn't just the police. The criminal underworld was getting angry. The pickpockets, the phone snatchers, the car thieves, they realized that Find Africa was disrupting their business. In Accra, Kojo was ambushed near Kwame Nkrumah Circle by two men who delivered a blunt warning: "Stop the project, or else." In Nairobi, Aching's apartment was broken into. Nothing was stolen, but her laptop was smashed, and a note was left on the floor: "Stop tracking US." Tund received a string of threatening phone calls, hissing with menace. They were scared. But something else was happening inside them. This wasn't just about survival anymore. For the first time in their lives, they were building something that mattered. They were creating value, protecting their communities. Backing down was no longer an option. The final test came on a Tuesday evening. An alert flashed on Aching's screen, a case that made her blood run cold. A school bus in Nairobi had been hijacked. 13 children were inside. The police were scrambling, parents were frantic, and the clock was ticking. Without a second's hesitation, Aching triggered a citywide alert. The response was instantaneous. The map lit up with sightings from their network of matatu drivers, boda riders, and market women. A taxi driver spotted a bus matching the description, speeding towards a derelict industrial area on the outskirts of the city. Within minutes, the Find Africa volunteers converged on the zone. They weren't heroes or vigilantes. They didn't have weapons. They simply did what they did best: they used their numbers. Dozens of them on motorbikes and cars, on foot, blocked every single exit. They created a human barricade. Panicked and cornered, the hijackers abandoned the bus and fled on foot, running straight into the arms of the arriving police. All 13 children were rescued and harmed. Overnight, Find Africa exploded. The story went viral. News stations were calling. Government officials wanted meetings. Investors were flying in, eager to pour money into the app that had mobilized the city. The three youths, once broke, once hopeless, once teetering on the edge of homelessness, were now the founders of a registered company. They had a tech headquarters in Nairobi and operational teams in Lagos and Accra. During their first official company-wide Zoom meeting, Aching looked at the faces on her screen and smiled. "We started this because we were hungry," she said. "But now, people actually depend on us." From Accra, Kojo nodded, a proud grin on his face. From nothing to something. "We turned the hustle into a legacy." And from Lagos, Tun leaned back in his new office chair, the picture of a man who had found his purpose. "Make them no say African youths no be lazy," he declared. We just need opportunity. In cities where survival can feel like a constant battle, 3 unemployed youths didn't just find a way to eat. They turned their desperation into innovation. Not with crime, not with shortcuts, but with courage, community, and creativity. They proved that when the system fails to provide for its youth, the youth will do what they've always done. They will build a new system of their own. Thanks for watching. If this story inspired you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. See you next time.
Thank you for watching Story Africa TV. Follow and subscribe. Story Africa TV, Africa's voice in every frame.
Pastor Kofi Mensah was once the heart of New Dawn Chapel in Kumasi. His sermons were gentle, his prayers sincere. For years, the church grew not through flashy displays, but because people trusted him. He was a man of quiet faith, a steady presence in their lives. But everything changed when fame began to whisper louder than humility. A new church opened across town, the Holy Fire Cathedral. Thousands flocked there every Sunday, drawn by jaw-dropping miracles that went viral on social media. Suddenly, Pastor Kofi's once crowded pews began to empty. The offering baskets grew lighter. The bills piled up, and leadership meetings turned bitter. The pressure mounted. "Pastor, we have to do something," his assistant, Deacon Boateng, pleaded. "People want signs and wonders." Pastor Kofi felt trapped, his world collapsing around him. In his desperation, he remembered a dark rumor story about an old charm hidden deep in the Ashanti hinterlands, a charm said to grant supernatural power instantly, but at a terrible cost. He knew it was wrong, a path he should never even consider. Yet one night, overwhelmed by despair, he drove alone into the forest. The charm was kept by an old priestess, Nana Bina Bissi. She looked at him with eyes like dying embers and said, "You are a servant of light, but your heart has opened its door to shadows." His voice was barely a whisper. "I just need help, a little power, to save my ministry." She handed him a small calabash, wrapped in black cloth. "This one gives," she warned, "but it takes twice as much. It will answer your prayers, but never for free." He hesitated, his conscience screaming, but his desperation won. He took it. That night, Pastor Kofi buried the forbidden charm under his pulpit. And the miracles began. People flooded back to the church. A blind man's eyes were opened. A woman crippled for years stood up and walked. A barren couple conceived. The congregation screamed in awe as Pastor Kofi laid hands on people, and they fell under waves of unbelievable power. His church exploded. His name traveled beyond Ghana. Money poured in, and his fame grew. Other pastors envied him, and his ego swelled with pride. He didn't realize the charm was feeding, growing stronger with every miracle. Then, the backfire began. It was subtle at first. The woman he prayed for, who had walked after 10 years, suddenly collapsed, more paralyzed than before. The barren couple suffered a mysterious miscarriage. A young man he had delivered from madness became violently insane, attacking his own family. Every single miracle began to reverse, but with amplified destruction. Whispers started to spread through the community. "Pastor Kofi's miracles don't last. Something is terribly wrong. People are getting hurt. People are dying." The night of reckoning came on a Sunday. While preaching with fiery passion, Pastor Kofi felt a heavy force clutch his throat. His voice twisted into a guttural sound. His hands began to tremble uncontrollably. Beneath the pulpit, the charm started to vibrate, a low hum growing into a violent shudder. The church lights flickered and died. A dark, cold wind swept through the auditorium, scattering Bibles and chairs. Panic erupted. Children screamed. The congregation ran for the doors. Only Deacon Boateng, who had long suspected something was wrong, remained. "Pastor," he shouted over the chaos, "what have you done?" Pastor Kofi collapsed to the floor. The charm burst through the wooden pulpit, spinning in the air like a flaming orb. A strange, ancient voice filled the room. Echoing from the walls, "The dead is due." The congregation scattered in pure terror. Deacon Boten could only stand and watch, tears streaming down his face. Pastor Kofi tried to crawl away, but shadowy tendrils shot out from the spinning charm, wrapping around him. In his mind, every miracle he had performed began to replay in reverse, but this time, the consequences were inflicted upon his own body. He felt the blindness, the paralysis, the madness, each curse layering over the last. He screamed for mercy, but the charm was only taking what it was owed. When the police and church elders finally entered the silent, dark hall, they found him twisted and unconscious on the floor, barely breathing, and completely blind. Later, in the stark white of the hospital room, Nana Bina Bissi came to visit him. "I warned you," she said softly, her voice filled with a sad finality. "Power not given by God will always return to its master." Pastor Kofi could only cry. He had lost everything: his church, his fame, his sight. But in the darkness of his blindness and disgrace, he finally found what he had buried so long ago: humility. From that day on, every morning, he whispered the same prayer: "Lord, let my fall be a warning to others, to never trade the light for shadows." Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Stay in the light.
Thank you for watching Story Africa TV. Follow and subscribe. Story Africa TV, Africa's voice in every frame.
Dara and Kenny were the kind of couple everyone loved instantly. They were young, playful, charming, and totally obsessed with making each other laugh. Their journey started with simple TikTok videos, filmed in their tiny Lagos apartment. But what began as a bit of fun quickly exploded into millions of followers. Their page, DK Pranks, became a daily ritual for fans all across Africa and even beyond. Imagine the scene: flower bombs going off in the kitchen, fake snakes hidden in the laundry basket, surprise water splashes when they least expected it, and absolutely hilarious jump scares. People adored their chemistry, their infectious laughter, and honestly, they adored the fame that came with it. But fame has a way of wanting more. It has a hunger all its own. As their view counts soared into the millions, so did the pressure to keep outdoing themselves. The comments section, once a place of pure fun, started to change. People wrote things like, "Do something extreme," or "We want danger," and push it even further. These comments started to get into their heads. They planted a seed. One night, while scrolling through their analytics, watching the numbers climb, Kenny decided they needed a true viral moment, the kind of video nobody ever forgets. He pitched the idea to Dara. At first, she was hesitant, even outright refused. It felt wrong. But then, the flashing images of potential sponsorship deals came to mind. The ever-increasing subscriber count, the dream of leaving their tiny flat for a studio apartment on the island, the future they had always talked about. With a heavy heart and a mind full of what-ifs, she finally agreed. The plan was, in hindsight, both simple and incredibly stupid. Kenny would stage a fake kidnapping while Dara live-streamed their reaction video. It was supposed to be the ultimate prank. They hired two friends to help them pull it off. They bought masks and found a location: an old, abandoned warehouse in Ogudu that looked perfectly menacing on camera. Everything was scripted, down to the last detail. Every scream, every panicked look was planned. Everything was supposed to be completely harmless, a performance, nothing more. The live stream began. Dara walked into their apartment, phone in hand, acting like she was just getting home. She called out, "Kenny, babe, where you day?" Her voice echoed slightly in the empty room. Then, on cue, came the sounds of a struggle from off-camera, footsteps pounding. Suddenly, two masked men burst into the frame and grabbed her. Dara let out a scream, just as they had rehearsed. But the scream that followed was not part of the script. It was real. In the chaos, one of the friends, one of the masked actors, slipped on the dusty floor. He fell hard, knocking over a stack of old shelves. A loose metal pipe came crashing down. It swung through the air and hit Dara squarely across the head. She collapsed to the ground, motionless. The camera, dropped in the fall, kept recording, its unblinking eye capturing the horror. The live stream, which seconds before was filled with laughing emojis, exploded with shocked comments. Guys, this isn't funny anymore. Someone call an ambulance. Stop the prank. The illusion was shattered. Kenny, who had been waiting just off camera for his cue, rushed into the shot. The mask of the prankster fell away, revealing pure panic. He knelt beside Dara, shaking her, his voice cracking as he called her name. The two friends, terrified, ripped off their own masks, their faces pale with shock. The prank was over. The nightmare had just begun. But it was too late. The damage was done, broadcast live to millions of horrified viewers. Dara survived, but just barely. She suffered a fractured skull and spent 3 long days in a coma. When she finally woke up, she began a long, grueling recovery that took away her sense of balance for months. The internet, the same force that had built them up, turned on them with a vengeance. Their followers vanished overnight. Brands canceled their contracts. The police opened an investigation into the incident. The fame they had chased so desperately curdled into infamy. Kenny spiraled into a deep well of guilt. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The first thing he did was delete their entire channel. Every video, every laugh, every prank gone. When Daryl was finally able to speak, her first words to him were soft, broken, barely a whisper. She looked at him, her eyes filled with a pain that went far beyond the physical, and asked, was it worth it? Kenny broke down, crying harder than he ever had in his entire life. The weight of that question, the weight of his actions, crushed him completely. They quit the prank industry forever. There was no going back. A few years later, Dara wrote a memoir. She called it Beyond the Laughs, Surviving Viral Pressure. And its pages, she exposed the dark side of online fame, the relentless obsession with numbers, the desperation for validation, the constant, draining need to perform for an invisible audience. It wasn't a viral sensation, but it became a quiet bestseller, connecting with people who understood that pressure. They never returned to the spotlight. They chose a quiet life, far away from the cameras and the comments. But sometimes, late at night, when the apartment is silent and the city outside is asleep, Kenny finds himself staring at the old ring light tucked away in the corner, a relic of their past life. And he thinks about how a single, desperate moment of chasing clout almost destroyed the person he loved most in the world. This story serves as a powerful reminder. What makes people laugh today could very well destroy a life tomorrow. The line between entertainment and danger is thinner than we think, and some pranks, some ideas, are best left in the imagination. If you or someone you know is struggling with the pressures of social media or mental health, please remember that help is available. Reaching out is a sign of strength. Thanks for watching. And remember to be kind to each other, both online and off.
Thank you for watching Story Africa TV. Follow and subscribe. Story Africa TV, Africa's voice in every frame.
The sun dipped behind the tall glass buildings of Sandton, painting the Johannesburg sky in shades of orange and purple. 29-year-old Naledi Makono rushed out of her office, her heart buzzing with excitement. Tonight was the night. A surprise dinner for Thabo, the man she was going to marry. For 3 years, he had been her everything, warm, ambitious, and so gentle. Their engagement was fresh, and her mind was already filled with daydreams. A wedding under the shade of jacaranda trees, a beautiful home in Rosebank, and children with his smile. She was living a dream, completely unaware that it was about to turn into a nightmare. On her way home, Naledi made a quick stop at her best friend Ayanda's apartment in Braamfontein. She needed to pick up a box of decorations for the surprise dinner. Ayanda wasn't home, but she'd left the security code for Naledi. The moment she stepped inside, a cold feeling washed over her. On the dining table sat a lavish bouquet of red roses. The card attached to it made her heart stop. It read, "To my future wife, I love you endlessly, T. T." Iyanda had recently started talking about a new guy named Tobogo, but the handwriting, Naledi knew that handwriting as well as she knew her own. It was Thebo's. Her legs felt weak, but she pushed herself to move. A desperate hope fighting against a rising panic, she searched the apartment, looking for any sign, any proof that this was all a terrible misunderstanding. But the evidence was damning. In Iyanda's dresser, she found a silver engagement ring box, nearly identical to her own. On the wall, a wedding mood board with the same theme. The same month she and Thabo had planned. Then, the final blow, in a hidden drawer. Framed pictures of Iyanda and Thabo, smiling, laughing. At a restaurant Naledi had first introduced him to. Her fiancé. Her best friend. Together. They were planning a future, stealing hers right from under her nose. The world tilted, and Naledi fell to her knees, the pain of betrayal sharper than any physical wound. Later that night, she asked them both to meet her. The location was deliberate, a quiet spot at the Walter Sisulu Botanical Gardens, a place that once felt sacred to her. They arrived separately, their faces a study in contrast. Iyanda looked consumed by nerves. Thabo tried to feign confusion. "Naledi, what's going on? Why are we here?" he asked, his voice laced with false concern. Without a word, Naledi pulled the diamond ring off her finger and dropped it into his palm. "I know everything," she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. The silence that followed was deafening. Thabo's face went pale. Iyanda's lips trembled. "Ledi, please," she whispered. "Don't." Naledi cut her off. "Just tell me why." Iyanda was the first to break. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she sobbed, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't even know you were engaged when we started talking. He told me you were breaking up. He said the ring was a mistake." All eyes turned to Thabo. He couldn't meet Naledi's gaze. I didn't want to lose either of you," he mumbled, his confident facade crumbling into dust. Naledi let out a bitter, hollow laugh. "So you promised forever to both of us?" In the same city, at the same time, he had no answer. As jacaranda petals fell around them like purple tears, Naledi found her voice again, cold and final. "It's over," she said. Looking from his face to Iyanda's, "For both of you," she turned and walked away, leaving the wreckage of their lives behind her. Ignoring Thabo's desperate calls and Iyanda's helpless cries. The heartbreak was immense, but Naledi was a fighter. She moved out, started therapy, and poured all her energy into healing. She focused on her career, slowly rebuilding the confidence they had shattered. Johannesburg, once a city of betrayal, became her city of rebirth. 6 months later, she launched her own fashion line, Ledi by Josie, a brand inspired by her journey from pain to power. Her designs were bold, resilient, and beautiful just like her. The brand was an instant success. One evening, at a fashion show in Melrose Arch, she felt a gentle tap on her shoulder. "You're Naledi Makona, right?" She turned to see a tall man with kind, sincere eyes. "My name is Kagosi," he said with a soft smile. "Your story, our work, it's incredibly brave. I'd like to get to know you better, if you'll allow it." And for the first time in a very long time, Naledi smiled a real, genuine smile. Perhaps this was the beginning of something new. Something honest. Something she truly deserved. Johannesburg had broken her heart, but in the end, it had also rebuilt her into someone stronger than she ever imagined. Thanks for watching. If you were inspired by Naledi's story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.
Thank you for watching Story Africa TV. Follow and subscribe. Story Africa TV, Africa's voice in every frame.
In the heart of Ibadan, two sisters, Adesua and Tomiwa, lived worlds apart despite sharing the same home. Adesua, the elder, was the picture of kindness and diligence, earning the love of all who knew her, but Tomiwa harbored a deep-seated bitterness. a poison she aimed squarely at her sister. Their father, Chief Akinlabi, a respected businessman, had left a will that would forever alter their lives. He bequeathed 70% of his vast estate, farmlands, properties, and a thriving company to Adesua, and 30% to Tomiwa. To their mother, the decision was just. After all, Adesua had faithfully cared for their father during his long illness, while Tomiwa was rarely seen. For Tomiwa, however, this wasn't justice. It was a profound betrayal. The moment the will was read, Tomiwa's envy began to fester. She watched as Adesua took the reins at the family's agro company, earning the respect of the staff with her natural leadership. Tomiwa felt like a ghost in her own life. Overshadowed and insignificant, a dark resolve took root in her heart. If she couldn't have the life she believed she deserved, she would tear her sister's life to shreds. Her campaign of destruction started subtly. She filed anonymous reports, falsely accusing Adesua of embezzlement. Next, she forged documents, creating a paper trail of fake transactions that she leaked to the company's board. The whispers grew into a roar, and soon, Adesua's integrity was under public attack. Her mother was heartbroken, and the company she loved began to doubt her. But Tomiwa's thirst for ruin was far from quenched. Her plan escalated into something far more sinister. One evening, she slipped into the night with Adesua's car keys. After driving to a secluded spot, she purchased illegal substances and carefully concealed them in the boot of the car before returning it to the compound. The very next day, an anonymous tip placed by Tomiwa herself brought the police to their doorstep. Adesua was dragged from her home in a state of sheer terror and confusion as officers pulled the illicit packages from her car. The headlines were immediate and brutal. Akinlabi daughter arrested for drug trafficking. In a matter of minutes, her entire world had shattered. While Adesua awaited trial, trapped in a nightmare, Tomiwa played the part of the devoted daughter and sister. She consoled their weeping mother and even visited Adesua in detention, her eyes filled with crocodile tears. The community praised her for her strength in the face of such scandal. With her mother emotionally broken and vulnerable, Tomiwa made her final move. She presented her with legal papers, convincing her to sign over temporary control of the company. At last, Tomiwa had everything she had ever craved: power, control, and the company. But the hunger of envy is insatiable. What Tomiwa didn't know was that their father had installed a comprehensive CCTV system years ago, a system Adesua had quietly upgraded after his passing. One sleepless night, while searching for old family photos to soothe her grief, their mother stumbled upon the archive server. As the footage played, her world collapsed. She saw Tomiwa hunched over a desk, forging documents. She saw her sneaking out with Adesua's car. And then, the final, damning image of Tomiwa placing the packages in the boot. The truth, once revealed, spread like wildfire. Tomiwa was arrested, and the charges against Adesua were dropped. The city was in shock. In court, her voice trembling, Tomiwa finally confessed her motive: "I just wanted to be noticed. I wanted her life." Adesua was acquitted and returned home. But the ordeal left a permanent scar. The betrayal from her own sister cut deeper than any public humiliation. Their mother could never look at Tomiwa the same way again. This state remained, but the family was broken beyond repair. Tomiwa was sentenced not just by the court, but by the devastating consequences of her own actions. Sometime later, Adesua visited her in the correctional facility. "I would have shared everything with you, Tomi," she said softly. "You didn't have to destroy me to get what you wanted." As Tomiwa finally broke down in tears, the weight of her choices crashed down upon her. It was too late. Her envy had cost her everything: her freedom, her family, and the unconditional love of the sister she had sought to destroy. Thanks for watching. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe for more.
Thank you for watching Story Africa TV. Follow and subscribe. Story Africa TV, Africa's voice in every frame.
In the sunlit highlands of Kenya, where emerald hills stretched to the horizon, Princess Aching stood on her father's balcony. She gazed at the distant borderlands, a territory her people of Riot had defended for generations. But the threat they now faced wasn't an army. It was a marriage contract. For nearly a decade, two powerful kingdoms, Riot and Makutano, had been trapped in a cycle of conflict. Droughts, border raids, and ancient disputes had brought both to the brink of collapse. To pull them back from the edge, their leaders agreed on a political union. And Princess Aching was the price. She was to marry Prince Barasa of Makutano, a man she'd never met, a warrior infamous for his cold resolve and fierce loyalty to his own kingdom. The entire peace treaty hinged on her decision. If she refused, her home would face certain destruction. If she accepted, she would surrender her freedom, and possibly her life. This is the story of the princess who was given away to save her kingdom, only to find she had to save too. On the day she was to be escorted to Makutano, the air was thick with tension. Aching's mother, Queen Nyabok, gently fastened a string of golden beads around her daughter's wrist. "Peace is sometimes carried by the brave," she whispered. "Today, that brave one is you," but bravery felt like a crushing weight. As Aching rode between armed guards, her face hidden behind a delicate veil, she saw the faces of her people lining the roads. Some cheered for the newfound unity, but others whispered that she was a lamb being led to the slaughter. Through it all, Aching kept her spine straight, her resolve unwavering. She made a quiet promise to herself: she would not be a pawn in their game. She would be a player. She would not simply endure this fate, she would master it. Makutano's palace was a fortress carved into the stony foothills, as intimidating as its reputation. At the gates, Prince Barasa was waiting. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with shadowed eyes that betrayed nothing of his thoughts. When Aching offered a formal bow, his voice was low and steady. "I do not expect your obedience," he said, "only your understanding. Our lands depend on this." She studied him then, seeing not just a warrior, but a man also trapped by duty, a man trained for war now forced into the unfamiliar world of politics. They were two strangers, bound together by a destiny neither had chosen. Yet, something in his quiet, restrained manner stirred her curiosity. Perhaps he wasn't the monster the rumors painted him to be. The grand wedding ceremony was a hollow spectacle, a performance for the two kingdoms. They spoke their vows, but their eyes were distant, their hearts guarded. For the first week, they lived as polite strangers in the vast palace, each aware that one wrong move could shatter the fragile peace. It was during one of those quiet, lonely nights that Aching discovered the terrifying truth hidden beneath the thin veneer of peace. She overheard hushed voices in a secluded courtyard and followed them, her instincts screaming that something was wrong. Hiding in the shadows, she learned the marriage was not just about peace. A treacherous faction within Makutano, led by Prince Barasa's own cousin, Minister Lumbasi, was plotting to overthrow the king. Their plan was diabolical. They would break the peace treaty, frame Riot for the betrayal, and use the ensuing chaos to seize control of both kingdoms. And Aching, she was the trigger. They planned to use an attack on her to ignite the war. Even worse, she heard them finalize the last piece of their plot. Prince Barasa, the heir to the throne, was marked for execution as part of the coup. Suddenly, Aching faced an impossible choice. She could escape, flee back to her own kingdom and save herself, letting Makutano crumble. Or she could stay and fight for both kingdoms and for the husband she barely knew, the man who was also a target. Looking back toward the palace, Aching made her decision. She would not run. She would fight. The next evening, Aching found Barasa alone in the war room, studying maps of their shared border. She walked in without ceremony and faced him directly. "Your cousin plans to kill you," she stated, her voice clear and strong. "And when he succeeds, both our kingdoms will burn." For the first time since she'd met him, Barasa's cold, impenetrable mask cracked. He saw the fire in her eyes, the conviction in her words, and he believed her. In that moment, everything changed. They were no longer political prisoners, they were allies. Together, they began to weave a silent counter-strategy. Aching, with her sharp mind and courtly knowledge, became the strategist. She used her position to intercept secret messages, decode coded conversations, and identify loyal soldiers who could be trusted. Barasa, with his military prowess, became the enforcer. He quietly gathered his most trusted warriors, moving like a shadow in his own home, preparing for a battle no one else knew was coming. The marriage that had once felt like a cage transformed into a secret alliance. And as they worked side by side, sharing secrets in hushed whispers and planning in the dead of night, a new respect began to grow between them. And soon, something far more tender. They found in each other a shared strength, a partner worthy of trust. The night of the planned coup arrived like a storm. Minister Lumbasi, confident in his victory, struck. The palace erupted into chaos. Torches flared in the corridors, arrows whistled through the air, and the shouts of clashing guards echoed off the stone walls. It was exactly the scene of turmoil Lumbasi had orchestrated. But he hadn't accounted for the princess. While Barasa met the traitors head-on with his hidden forces, Aching took command of a different kind of army. She gathered the queen's women, the servants, and the palace children, leading them through secret passages to the safety of the royal bunkers. She was a beacon of calm in the storm. In the main hall, the battle raged. Barasa, fighting with the fury of a cornered lion, pushed Lumbasi and his men back. Cornered and desperate, Lumbasi spotted Aching as she returned from securing the innocents. He sneered, a cruel smile on his face. You were supposed to be the key to war." Aching stepped forward, her chin held high, her eyes fearless. "And instead," she declared, her voice ringing with authority, "I will be the key to ending it." With a sharp, practiced command, she gave the signal. From the upper galleries and hidden alcoves, Barasa's loyal archers appeared, their arrows trained on the rebels. The coup collapsed in an instant. Lumbasi was arrested, his plot shattered. And against all odds, peace was restored. Days later, the grand courtyard of Makutano was filled once more. Representatives from both Riot and Makutano gathered, not for war, but for a true celebration. In the center of it all stood Aching and Barasa. This time, there were no veils, no guarded expressions. They renewed their vows, not as political hostages, but as true partners who had faced death together and emerged stronger. Aching, now a queen in her own right, raised her voice for all to hear. "Let this peace be written not with fear, but with courage," she proclaimed. "Not with sacrifice, but with shared purpose." The crowd, from both kingdoms, roared in a single, unified voice of agreement. Riot and Makutano were officially united not by a fragile treaty, but by the unbreakable bond forged by a queen who refused to be powerless, and a prince who learned to trust her strength. In the years that followed, Queen Aching became one of the most celebrated and beloved rulers in their combined history. Her story was told not as the tale of a princess who married a prince, but as the legend of the woman who saved two kingdoms. She transformed a forced marriage, a symbol of her sacrifice, into a legacy of unity, courage, and enduring love. Her reign became a lesson passed down through generations, that the greatest battles are often fought not on a field, but in the silent chambers of the heart. And that sometimes, a kingdom is saved not by an army of warriors, but by a single, determined woman who refuses to surrender her destiny. Thank you so much for watching. If you were inspired by Aching's story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tales of courage and history. Let us know in the comments what you think is the true meaning of strength. See you next time.
Thank you for watching Story Africa TV. Follow and subscribe. Story Africa TV, Africa's voice in every frame.
In the dusty streets of Umlazi, where the air hummed with life, a boy named Lindani Makais ran barefoot, his speed a local legend. His mother sold vegetables on the roadside. His father a distant memory. For Lindani, running was freedom. It wasn't long before his raw talent caught the eye of school coaches. During one competition, He didn't just win, he flew. The papers dubbed him the Umlazi Bullet. Scouts flocked to his door, and at 17, a scholarship to a prestigious Johannesburg sports academy changed his life. As he boarded the bus, his mother's words followed him. "Don't forget who you are, my child." In Johannesburg, Lindani's talent exploded. With professional coaching, he became a phenomenon, shattering junior records and bringing home international medals. South Africa swelled with pride. Brands lined up, money poured in, and the world celebrated him. He bought his mother a new house, filled his garage with luxury cars, and became a regular at glamorous parties where success was measured in champagne glasses. The boy from Umlazi had conquered the world, but with fame came a new, dangerous circle. His slick manager, Sibling, promised even greater glory through shortcuts and easy money. Lindani's discipline began to fray. Morning training sessions were replaced by late-night parties. He started missing competitions, his focus shifting from the track to the gambling table. It began with small bets, but with Sibling's encouragement, the stakes grew dangerously high. The thrill of the win, he was told, was just another race. The fall was as swift as his rise. Lindani's performance plummeted. His once unbeatable reflexes slowed. He lost races he should have dominated. One by one, sponsors backed away. Then, Sis vanished, taking half of Lindani's savings with him. The gambling debts came due, brought by men who didn't accept excuses. He sold his cars, his furniture, and finally, the trophies that once symbolized his greatness. The headlines turned cruel. The Umlazi Bullet has crashed. The national hero became a national scandal, broken and defeated. Lindani returned to Umlazi with nothing but a small bag and a heavy heart. As his mother opened the door, he broke down. "I failed," he whispered. She held him close and replied, "You only fail when you stop trying. Pride and greed were never your friends, my child." The road back was difficult. He was ashamed, a ghost of his former self. But the village children, who still saw a hero, begged him to teach them how to run. Hesitantly at first, he agreed. On the same dusty fields where his own journey began, Lindani found something he'd lost, the pure joy of running. It wasn't about fame or money anymore. It was about passion. His story became a powerful lesson for the next generation, a warning that while talent can open doors, character is what keeps you in the room. Years later, a young athlete from Umlazi qualified for the national team. When a reporter asked about his inspiration, he smiled. "Coach Lindani Makai's," he said, "the fastest man I ever knew." In that moment, Lindani understood he had found something far more valuable than fame. He had found redemption. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more content.
Thank you for watching Story Africa TV. Follow and subscribe.